They say they're a grand jury. This isn't a grand jury. We have never, ever seen anything like this in American history, have we, Congressman?
Not in my judgment, certainly not in my lifetime, and not from the history that I have read. This is an instance in which the news media, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, and a host of others have totally abrogated their role as watchdogs of the federal government, and as Matt so eloquently said, they have become advocates for the socialist agenda in the United States of America, to the point where you cannot trust a single word that they utter. And that is most unfortunate in this digital age. Now, in fairness to them, they have time constraints. They're all trying to get stories out. Editorial staff rarely really goes over and proofs what's being put out to make sure that it has evidentiary support for what's being argued. And to make matters worse, though, in this particular scenario, they don't seem to want the public to get it firsthand. The media doesn't seem to want to get it firsthand themselves by being able to see the actual witnesses as they are testifying. In effect, what the Democrats have done, and perhaps it's smart, I don't know, time will tell, but they have misappropriated a SCIF, which is designed to protect national security secrets and information from getting into the hands of the Russians, the Chinese, and other adversaries. And instead, they're using a SCIF in a bad way to hide from the American people an investigation that would trash, if successful, the votes of over 60 million Americans and undermine our republic in the process.
Isn't this the point, really? They're in that SCIF to keep we the people in the
Bingo.
dark. In the
Spot
dark.
on. That's it. That's the only reason.
It's not even just the Republicans and the press. They want to keep we the people in the dark so they can keep pushing their propaganda.
The American people are smart.
And this Ukrainian issue is a pseudo issue. It is a fake issue, one pseudo issue after another. And they bring in a conga line of witnesses to keep pushing this narrative. But the president really did trump them, didn't he, by releasing the phone call. Folks, don't forget, you can join us on Levin TV most weeknights. Just give us a call at 844-LEVIN-TV, 844-LEVIN-TV, or go to blazetv.com/Mark, blazetv.com/Mark. We hope you'll join us. We'll be right back. One of the interesting things that happened, by the way, on Thursday was all the Democrats voted for what Nancy Pelosi told them to vote for, except for two. 3/4 of those Democrats don't know what the hell's going on in that SCIF either. They're reading what's in the newspaper. They just voted to be ignorant. They voted to be ignorant. They don't even know what they're voting on. They say, okay, we'll go along. The 1/4 of the Congress that's involved in this, that's fine. The rest of us don't need to know anything. This is what amazes me about the lack of representation.
Well, wait, wasn't this the same party that said we had to vote for Obamacare before we found out what was in it? So maybe it shouldn't surprise you.
In fact, it was Pelosi who said it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is sort of their legislative mantra. Let's vote first, and then let's try to analyze second and third order consequences later.
But here's what's concerning, too. This creates a precedent for future houses, for future presidencies, and under the Constitution. A very, very bad precedent. If you don't like a president, you're chasing him down from the moment he's elected. You're trying to find a reason to claim to remove him. You come up with phony issue after phony issue. Then you figure out, let's do this secret stuff, leak it to our media friends, and we build, try to build a juggernaut toward that. Under our Constitution, there's only one body that can protect us from this: the United States Senate. Will they?
I believe that the United States Senate will see through all this. There is no high crime, misdemeanor, treason, or bribery that has been committed, at least at this point, based on what we have seen. There is no credible evidence to support an impeachment charge. Now, that won't stop the Socialist Democrats from doing it, because that is not their primary motivation, the removal of President Trump. If they could get that, fine, they would do it. Their primary motivation is to win the 2020 elections. And so what they have discovered is a process by which they can use United States taxpayer money to do opposition research in a secure environment where only the unrebutted, damaging material can be seen by the public through their sycophants at the New York Times, Washington Post, or other mainstream news media outlets. So if the public will just understand that this is a political matter designed to impact the 2020 elections, then I think they're much more likely to come to a more accurate and fair picture of what is occurring.
Will the Senate help?
I have seen reporting that Mitch McConnell may plan to spend up to 6 weeks holding an impeachment trial. And if Mitch McConnell does that, it is a betrayal of this president, and it will do damage to this country that is totally unnecessary. Does the Senate not get why we're really here? Is there a single Republican senator who believes that we would be impeaching the president over the Ukraine if not for the Democrats' failures and lies about the Russia hoax? I mean, before they got onto the Ukraine, they were playing pin the tail on the impeachment theory like kids would play pin the tail on the donkey. There was that crazy week where they wanted to impeach Kavanaugh. Remember that? Then they were even talking about impeaching Bill Barr. And so they just sort of migrate from impeachment concept to impeachment concept. And if Mitch McConnell spends 6 weeks on this, it will tear the country apart. It will distract us from the important work we need to do, and it will give Nancy Pelosi and her lion band, a group of people over there in the House, far more dignity to this impeachment matter than it deserves.
And they're going to lose the Senate.
They will, because it will demoralize Republicans. This is the big mistake in the Senate. They all believe that you got to play to the middle. You got to look like you're some austere thinker, that just walked out of the Roman Senate. The reality is the American people want to see guts. They want to see boldness, and they want to see folks that'll call it like it is. That's why they elected Donald Trump. And we need more senators to stand up and say, this whole thing is a sham. It only is here to distract us from the failures that the Democrats had on Russia and the true corruption in the deep state that started the effort to delegitimize the president in the first place.
It also has the benefit of being true, and it also has the benefit of defending the Constitution and the impeachment clause in the Constitution.
What will it mean if McConnell spends 6 weeks on this?
I agree with you. We'll be right back. Congressman Brooks, any final words?
Sure. The American people need to understand that this is a diversionary tactic by the Democrats. They want to have the American people focusing on Russian collusion 2.0, a hoax that helped them win the 2018 elections. Our task as Americans is to make sure that the American people understand the foundational principles that help make America the greatest nation in world history, and that those principles are under attack. They're under attack with open borders that are killing Americans at the hands of illegal aliens. Thousands each year are dying. Democrats don't want us to be talking about that. We could be talking about deficit and debt and the threat that is to a national insolvency and bankruptcy. Socialism versus free enterprise. One produces wealth, the other produces poverty. So we can't let the Democrats monopolize the conversation by creating this false image of impeachment when there are very many substantive, challenging issues that define us as a people.
I hope this impeachment doesn't make us a less joyous country, because we have every reason to be happy and excited right now. The American economy is the hottest in the world. Wage growth faster than any other point in a decade. The lowest African American, Hispanic American, Asian American unemployment in recorded history. For all of us who've been fighting for this moment, for a transformational president like Donald Trump, we just have to remember, no matter what the radical left and their allies in the fake news media do, we've got to keep marching forward to improve the lives of the American people. And if we do that, voters are going to punish these Democrats in the upcoming election, and they're going to send President Trump back to the White House for 4 more years of doing a great job.
Quickly, the so-called moderate Democrats who want